just to take you through the journey of digitization on the ticketing. 1986, prior to that, you used to get manual tickets. Just imagine if you were to move in, say, a Grand Trunk Express or, say, a Rajdhani from Mumbai to Delhi, and you were waitlisted. How would the ticket or the booking counter would have operated? You are waitlisted. And there is uncertainty in the sense like there is still uncertainty even now, but you used to wait. They used to manually relay your waitlist position to the next station or the next stopping station to ensure that this ticketing is done. In 1986, in 4 discrete metros of ours, we established data centers and ticketing regions, one in Chennai, one in Mumbai, one in Calcutta, and one in Delhi. So these 4 data centers catered to 4 or 5 zones, and you could book a ticket within a zone from anywhere to anywhere. But if you want to take a ticket from one data center location to another data center location, it took us 6 years more to actually connect these 4 data centers into a mesh type of network to ensure that we have an anywhere to anywhere ticket. Then of course, web ticketing came in the 2000s, and in 2014, mobile ticketing came as well. And this applications on the railways, whether it is on the commercial front, on the customer-centric front, or whether it is on the operations front, Railway has taken a consistent stand that they will be developed in-house. And this is where the role of CRIS is, which currently I am heading. We are given the mandate to design, develop, manage, maintain the software systems, and procure and manage the network systems as well. And 1986, roughly up to say around 2004, almost 17, 18 years, the 2 applications which are predominant in the country were only these 2, the Freight Operations Information System and the Passenger Reservation System. But as you know, there are a number of other applications which any organization needs to cater to. I'm sure that all of you would appreciate that you will have a typical organization would require digitization and automation across the entire spectrum of its functions. And you may classify any organization's functions into operations, business development, asset management and reliability, capacity expansion and development. These are the 4 core functions of any organization which need to be automated. And in the case of railway, assets are a bit more granular in the sense we have something called rolling infrastructure which is specific to the railway, what we call as locomotives, coaches and wagons, and the fixed infrastructure of track, signal, traction as well as the General Electrics. So all this along with the core backbone functions of finance, HR, as well as the process reforms and of course medical. All this have been automated right from 2004 till 2022. Therein lies both the strength and the weakness as we stand today in terms of the digitization of the railway. You could guess that the biggest drawback in this model was that we have incrementally and organically added applications. We started with, as I mentioned, the Freight Operating Information System as well as the Passenger Reservation System, and then gone ahead and then added incrementally over the last 10 years, and still we are adding a bit more. The problem with this is you need to integrate across multiple applications, and that is the reality. And many of them have to be internet facing as well. But one advantage of this is that unlike any other organization, this is the greatest strength that we have almost data of every function of the railways as on date. So around 5 years back, while we continued to upgrade our information systems, sew them up and try to get an integrated application like a uni project for the railway, we also started leveraging on the data which existed in the different databases and the applications for delivering something called the strategic planning for the railway, because strategic planning requires data-driven decisions. And we start our governance today for the last maybe 6-7 years is primarily driven by this data, which is now the biggest strength of the railway. We start with the country's goals. We start with what the Niti Aayog has set for the country as a whole, as a macro. We start with 2.7 trillion USD to go to 5 trillion USD on 2030, with all that core goals of inclusion and governance, and how all the 41 sectors of the government need to synergetically work to ensure that this particular goal of the country is achieved. And railway is one amongst them, one amongst these 41 sectors. And there are a number of goals which are set by Niti Aayog or the country for the other sectors which are relevant to the railway as well. I'm sure you would appreciate that we are so much interlinked that we cannot look at ourselves as islands of economy. For example, the Ministry of Coal, their goals of achieving 1,000 million ton per annum is our goal as well, because our infrastructure needs to cater to the requirement and grow to cater to the movement which is projected by the coal. Similarly, ports. If you look at ports, you can almost say that all Indian ports currently handle almost around 1,300 million tons per year, both the major and the non-major ports. And they have a goal to go to 3,000 million tons. So their goals of expansion of the ports, if you look at the port sector, you would find that in 2008, take East Coast or the West Coast, you would find only a handful of ports. But after 2008, there has been an absolute explosion of port sector. Take, for example, the eastern bed, you would find right from Tuticorin. Then the next port used to be in 2008. I mean, it was only Chennai. Then maybe Ennore was coming up. Then used to be Vizag, Paradeep, Haldia, and Calcutta. That's it. Now look at what happened in 2008 up to now. You have, I don't know, I mean, we just even can't count. I mean, but we can hazard, for example, right from Tuticorin, you have something called Karaikal, then you have Ennore, a new port at Chennai called Katupalli, then Kakinada deep sea water port. Down Vizag, you got Gangavaram, then down Paradeep, you got Gopalpur, then you got, I mean, Haldia, now Subarnarekha, so on and so forth. Similarly, on the west coast. So these goals of the ports are also relevant to the goals of the railways. What this port sector growth has done to the railway is that it has actually carved up the hinterlands for the railway. You know, I mean, earlier only 8 ports, entire east coast, whatever the length of the coastline is, and you can see the hinterland movement of the railway. But now you have around 20 ports. So basically you have shortened the leads, and that is the biggest challenge for the ports and the railway as well in terms of the evacuation. So the goals of all these sectors are relevant to us. So what we do now is not just focus on digitization of the various functions of the railway, which we think we have already done, but while we continue to evolve and deepen the systems which exist in each of these functions, we try to be an absolute backend for the strategic planning of the Indian Railways in all its functions.